Well, to talk a little bit more about Kenya-Ethiopia relations, let me introduce Sedale Lema, who's live for us from Frankfurt, Germany. She's the editor-in-chief of the Ade Standard. Sedale, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good. The Ethiopian Prime Minister is in Kenya for a two-day state visit. Talk to me a little bit about how you think his performance in office has been so far. He's been there for about a month or so. What do you think have been some of his successes or sort of opportunities so far and challenges as well?
Thank you. In terms of his successes, the Prime Minister has been engaged in a lot of in-country travel in his attempt to have a one-to-one or a face-to-face with the Ethiopian public that have not had that opportunity in many, many years in the past with the same party. So he has somehow tried to reach out to a lot of people. I think he has done some 5, 6, 7 tours in the country so far, and he has made a lot of promising statements, but a lot of Ethiopians are waiting for those statements to be translated into an actual act by the party. In terms of his attempt in reigniting the regional diplomacy, he has also done pretty good so far in his trip to Djibouti, followed by Sudan, and now in Kenya yesterday, the day before yesterday.
Tell me a little bit about his push to open Ethiopia up to the world, to open Ethiopian markets up to the world as well. What would this mean for the people of Ethiopia?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Okay, let me take that one more time. His biggest push, it seems, is to open up Ethiopia to the world and to Africa as well, because from a business perspective, Ethiopia has been a closed market. What would this mean for the people of Ethiopia if the country was more willing to allow foreign investors and so forth to come into the country?
Well, that would mean a lot. I mean, as you've mentioned rightly, Ethiopia, in terms of its economic policy, is a pretty closed country, and the economy is, let me say, not performing as much as they would like to perform, which means, a lot of Ethiopians, university graduate students have had a very, slim chance of getting job opportunities, and poverty rate is also something that is biting every other household in Ethiopia. So this, if it's coupled by practical steps to be taken, is a good gesture that he's trying to put in place. But of course, it remains to be seen whether that extends into some of the critical economic sectors. The opening up could extend into the critical economic sectors like the finance sectors. But we will have to wait and see if that is going to be any practical steps to be taken.
In your view, Sedale, is this the man to open up the democratic space in Ethiopia? Will he enable or cause the military to loosen its grip on the nation? Can opposition parties in the future be able to operate freely? What's your prediction?
Well, my prediction is that somehow the Prime Minister seemed to understand the democratic deficit in that country, and also that is the biggest challenge the party that he comes from is facing. And at least rhetorically, he's trying to address that. But there hasn't been any practical solution that was put in place. A lot of people are demanding an all-inclusive political dialogue. We are yet to see that. We are also yet to see the Prime Minister's attempt in reforming the security sector, which he has left untouched during his recent cabinet reshuffle. We are also yet to see if the Prime Minister is committed in lifting the current state of emergency, which seems to be, a lot of people are expressing their concern about the army being in charge, the army being on the streets of the country in many places. The Prime Minister has somehow avoided mentioning that the country is under a state of emergency. So that is causing a lot of concern for many Ethiopians who are expressing their skepticism about whether his attempts in reforming the politics is genuine or not.
Finally, Sedale, last week was World Press Freedom Day, and I know you attended a forum in Accra where a big celebration in regards to World Press Freedom was taking place. Even as a lot of residents or citizens of Ethiopia have a lot of hope in this man. Talk to me about the state of media there and whether we're beginning to see the ability of journalists to talk a bit more freely about issues of public interest in the nation.
Well, the state of the media is it's no better than the state of the political space in that country. In fact, I was reading a report yesterday that confronted the reality that a country of more than 100 million estimated population does have only 3 Amharic newspapers, independent newspapers in the country, which is a very dismal record by any standard if you take it. But there's something that also we all seem to be forgetting. While decimating the independent media's presence in the country, the same party that the Prime Minister comes from was also building its own media empire. So the biggest challenge for the independent media is not only to come into existence now, but also trying to find a space among this media empire that the government itself is building, media houses that are affiliated to the party and also owned by the party. So this is going to be a big challenge for independent media to find a space, to find relevance, to get back into business again. But we don't seem to be paying attention to that kind of thing, whether the government is willing to put a hold in its own ambition to expand its own media narrative, its own media houses, and allow independent voices to come into the play.
Okay, thank you so much. That's Sedale Lema, Editor-in-Chief of the Addis Standard, based in Frankfurt, Germany, just for giving us her thoughts about Ethiopia-Kenya relations, bearing in mind there's currently a 2-day state visit by the Ethiopian Prime Minister to Kenya. Sedale, once again, always a pleasure getting your thoughts on the state of East Africa and Ethiopia, to be more specific.